Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a Sporting Blizzard podcast day. And as always, this is probably just going to be the normal. My co-host for the evening or day, afternoon, whatever, because we're recording this afternoon, is my father, Tony. Say hello to everybody, Tony.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
See, we had an issue. We were supposed to record Tuesday night. That changed. So we're recording Wednesday afternoon. But it's a good thing because we actually did get some information about some injuries today. I don't know if you saw them, but Damon Harris for the Patriots has been ruled out against the Bills. That's going to impact my pick. Okay, not really, but it would have had some impact on how I bet that game. But hey, you ready to get into Vikings Patriots?
Absolutely.
What were your thoughts on the game? And is that the best Thanksgiving Thursday night football game we've had in a long time? Because it feels
I'd say it was. It was a really good one. I thought that, honestly, it was probably the best game of the day. The first game between Detroit and Buffalo was really good, too. But
I'd have to give them the nod.
I just like the back and forth of it. And you felt at all times that either team could win that game. I still never thought Detroit was ever going to win the game. So
I didn't think it until I saw them drive late in the fourth quarter. I'm like, ooh, they may have something here. And this is a testament to Dan Campbell. And I'm just going to take a quick little second to talk about Dan Campbell because who doesn't love him? He has that team believing they can beat anybody, which makes me excited for the Lions' future. But this game, it was very interesting. And there was one problem I had in the game, and I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. Hunter Henry got that touchdown.
See, I disagree.
Ooh,
I am no. He bobbled it. If you go back and you watch it, when his hands hit, all right, that ball shifts. He brings it down to the ground and then brings it in. He used the ground to help cradle the ball. I don't think it was a touchdown. My issues in that game were more along the lines of a couple of the drives after that.
Yeah.
There was definite pass interference. There were a couple of calls that were not called that were blatant. And I think they changed the complexity of the game. So
you can point at any game, though, that happens. And listen, if the refs were going to throw a flag on every little contact, there'd be pass interference in every play.
Hunter Henry was tackled on that one.
Okay, I didn't say he wasn't. I've also seen some worse penalties not called over this past week than that, somehow. Looking at you, Florida State refs. Missed face mask on Anthony Richardson. Looking at you. But I'm over that.
Sounds it.
Not really. But are we at the point that do the Vikings have the best receiving core in the NFL?
They have the best receiver in the NFL. I wouldn't actually go out and say they have the best core because there's some really good receiving cores out there. So
see, for the longest time we've known they have the top two combination. It's probably been the best for how many years? But their depth seems much better this year than it has in years past.
I mean, picking up a really, really good tight end helps because it takes a lot of the
attention
onus off of every. Oh yeah, it takes a lot. That gives Osborne a chance to, go with one-on-ones. So I think all in all, they've got a really, really good. But I don't know if I wouldn't say they have the best.
And here's the thing, with that win, it puts the Vikings in position to clinch a playoff spot, their division this week. If I told you, what are we entering, week 13, 12?
Yeah.
Okay. If I told you before the season the Vikings could clinch their division at that point in the season, what would you tell me?
I would have told you that Aaron Rodgers got hurt and was not playing for most of the season.
Well, he did get hurt.
But I wouldn't have thought he would have been on the field.
What if I told you it was the Lions that the Vikings need to lose to clinch the division?
I would have thought that your homerism for Dan Campbell was...
Hey! I am not a Dan Campbell homer. Just ignore my I love Dan Campbell t-shirt. I mean, hey, I have to move off Sam Darnold eventually.
Thank goodness.
I'm just kidding. We're riding with Sam Darnold, everyone. It's riding time. But what do you think of the Patriots, though, this game?
I thought that the Patriots played a really good game. Like I said, I think that game could have gone either way. I just think there were some really bad calls, especially when the game is that close. Here's the thing. Yes, I understand calls get missed either way, but when blatant calls get missed and the teams are that evenly matched, I just think that you're causing an injustice in the game because I felt that the teams were pretty evenly matched. They both had offenses that were tough to stop. The defenses weren't playing bad at all, So it's a shame when that happens. But it also, there's a personal aspect in everything. I will say that it is absolutely incredible what Justin Jefferson can do.
You think? I just want to go back to the Patriots. Has Ramondre Stevenson become the lead back in New England? Because it kind of feels like he's taken that spot over.
Well, I honestly thought he pretty much started out this year with that spot, and so, yeah, I'd say it definitely is.
The one complaint I have about their Russian offense, I would just like to see them get Pierre Strong in there more because he was dynamic at South Dakota State, and I understand FCS, NFL, completely different levels, but he was such a fun player. I'd like to see him get some reps, but
we just don't know where his development is with picking up the blitzes and everything else because that
exactly.
offensive system, it's not just about running the ball.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out another rookie that people did not like being selected in the first round, but was a great pick. Cole Strange looks awesome.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good. Speaking of draft picks, I just have a real quick question for you. If you could go back now, knowing what you know for a year and a half, what are your top 5 quarterbacks from last year's draft coming off the board in order?
The 2021 class?
Yes.
Okay. I still take Trevor number 1.
Yes.
Call me crazy. He's my first guy. Number 2, I take Fields. I think the potential there with Fields with his mobility, and he has got nothing in Chicago. Actually, that's an insult to nothing. He has less than nothing in Chicago. The talent around him's not great. The O-line's not good at all. Third, that's when we get interesting because you have a guy like Mac Jones. You have Trey Lance, who we know nothing about yet, and Zach Wilson, who just got benched for a backup. I'm trying to remember if there's a later round QB in that class off the top of my head.
Well, you have Davis Mills.
Kellen Mond.
Yeah, Kyle Trask, which we haven't seen. I'm just throwing.
So listen, everyone, I have to not even consider Kyle Trask because I am a Gators fan. I am a homer for Kyle Trask. So I have to remove him from this conversation, even though I would love to see him get some reps. But it ain't going to happen with Brady. I would have to probably say, right now with what we know, Mac, and I'm just going to do this with the first. No, I go Lawrence, Fields, Mac, Mills, Lance.
That's fair.
Because, and here's the thing, I would be okay if you said you take Lance over Mills, but we've just seen more Mills. He's a more developed passer than Lance. That's why I would take him. Zach Wilson's off the board right now with how he's played. He is entering the realm of Jamarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf level of bad draft pick. Which is impressive.
Well, I will say that is an unfair. That's unfair too because
dude, his stats are bad.
Yeah, but you can't judge everything by stats. We go through this all of the time. They had a bad team last year. They had no offensive line help. Okay, his development. We've all talked about it. These rookie quarterbacks, they come in and they are put in a situation that most good NFL quarterbacks would struggle in. and it just stunts their development. They pick up bad habits, and he's in a bunch of bad habits right now. So I don't think coming out, I said he wasn't worthy of the spot, but I still would not compare him to Jamarcus Russell.
So I was going to ask you this later, but might as well go with it. If Mike White plays like this throughout the rest of the season, though, is it time we start talking about Zach Wilson that way? Because Wilson had all this talent and he didn't do anything. Mike White played against a bad defense. The Bears have been a bad defense since getting rid of Roquan Smith. I'm not saying they're good defense. If he can keep this up throughout the season, then would we enter that realm of conversation?
No. Then we enter the realm of conversation where they move off and see if they can trade him and see what a different team can do with him. You know, we can say all we want, but look at Geno Smith, how he's playing right now versus how he was in Green Bay, or not Green Bay, I'm sorry, in New York, right? Everybody was washed up. Everybody said he was washed up. He wasn't, what they thought he was. And he's playing some pretty good ball now. Does that mean he's worthy of the second round pick? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. But it's not Zach Wilson's fault that he was the second round pick in the NFL, or the second
overall pick. I've been waiting to
overall pick.
I thought you just meant Geno. I'm like, well, yeah, he was a second round pick.
No, but it's not Zach Wilson's fault that he was the second overall pick in the draft. It is everybody, the media, everybody that thought that he was what he isn't. And he wasn't ready.
Well, see, I'm not going to blame the media for that because NFL GMs have to make their own decision. They can't rely on the media. If the media swayed Joe Douglas in taking him, that's on Joe Douglas 100%.
No, but with the problem, what I'm saying is the media also is leading up to, well, if the draft happened today, he should be in the draft. These kids, a lot of these kids, and I'm not saying him in particular because I believe he was a senior, right, coming out.
I will double check. Well, here's the thing, though. He had a COVID year. He could have stayed one more year no matter what.
Everybody hears that they're going to be this stellar talent. And they need to come out, and that's media driven. Whereas these kids should really think about staying in and developing where they can. So
he did forego his senior year.
Okay, so he could have stayed another year, had some more development, and who knows what could have happened.
Probably got some good NIL with how big of a name he was.
Exactly. Getting back, well, I just wanted to bring up because I thought that watching Mac Jones, honestly, I thought that he was the better quarterback on the field. Cousins was indecisive. He had some really bad footwork where Mac stayed in there. He took some brutal shots, but he stayed in there and he finished strong. He finished his throw strong, So I really liked the way they did. I thought that their offense was horrible to begin the year, but if they keep this up, they can be a thorn in people's side in the playoffs because they've got a decent offensive line. They've got some receivers that are making plays. They've got a good run game, and that defense is
Bill Belichick.
Can be scary.
So my thoughts on Mac Jones is because he did get hurt. Was that a pre-existing injury? And how much should it hamper him? Because he has looked different. It could be, hey, Matt Patricia, maybe he's grown up as OC. I don't think that's the case. But it could be something like that. Or Mac Jones was just hampered by an injury, which is very possible. Because I don't care who you are, if you're hurt, doesn't matter if you're an NFL athlete or not, you're going to be hampered in some way. Everyone's physically limited. Some just have higher limits than others.
Well, just going off of what they were doing early in the season versus what they're doing now, his progression is quicker. He's moving off of receivers, and I think that they've let him actually just play quarterback a little bit more, and they're not so much as you will follow this offensive structure. It looks a lot more like what New England's done for very many years. They hit a lot of short passes. They go over the top some, and it's working, as opposed to that, whatever you want to call it, early in the season. And let's face it, the offensive line is doing 10 times better now than what they were, and that could have been part of the problem as well
And
because
there
they
were
couldn't
also missing pieces in this game.
Oh yeah.
They didn't have their starting center, and they didn't have Isaiah Wynn as well. But we need to wrap this up talking about this. So what were your final thoughts in this game?
I thought the game could have gone either way. The the Vikings are definitely a far more talented offensive team than the Patriots offense. But I thought the offense for the Patriots was more fluid just because Mac Jones it looked like he was more comfortable in the pocket. And maybe that's just because the Patriots can get such penetration. But that being said, he stood in there and took shots, and Kirk Cousins didn't. Cousins was, hopping, moving around. Let's face it. If it wasn't for the fact that he's got an acrobat playing wide receiver with Jefferson, some of those catches wouldn't have been made.
Okay, well, here's a question that we're going to get into at a later date, but I'm just going to let people sit on this. Do the Vikings take a quarterback in the first round this year to sit and develop behind Cousins? But we have to get into other topics. My quick thoughts on the games were Vikings and Patriots are both legit. You don't want to play them in the playoffs. The Vikings had the talent on defense. Their offense line is much better than years past. I don't believe Darrisaw played, if I'm remembering off the top of my head properly.
No, Darrisaw did not play.
Which could be a big reason why Cousins was jumpy, because Darrisaw has been so rock solid this year. I think both these teams are good, and they're going to be a threat to anyone who plays them. But let's get into this, and I just wanted to say this when we were talking about Zach Wilson, because we were getting to it. In the offseason, who's the more desirable target for a quarterback to get traded for? Jordan Love or Zach Wilson?
Well, right now, I don't think the Packers are going to get rid of him just because they don't know what is happening with Rodgers.
I say Rodgers is done after this year, so I do think they keep him. And we are entering the point because they cannot win their division at any point. As soon as they're knocked out of the playoff race, you sit Rodgers and you play Love.
I would think so.
Now, the problem is, how would Rodgers react to that?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he can go to Tibet and climb a mountain and drink some tea and,
Listen to Joe Rogan.
Become one with the universe. I don't know. I still personally think that Zach Wilson is probably the better trade, although you're going to be giving up more for him than you would be for Jordan Love. I see more tools there. I just think that he's got to develop.
That's fair. Now, let's go around the league. There was some craziness that happened, and we've been talking about the 2021 class. We have to talk about Trevor Lawrence's game-winning drive. What did you think of how he played in that final fourth quarter drive to win the game?
You mean the final two drives, because he was spot on both drives.
Okay, I watched some of it. I was able to watch the final second drive because I was driving to meet you somewhere. But do you remember the exact words I said once they scored that touchdown?
This is the Trevor Lawrence that we were promised.
And he is. Trevor Lawrence is a once-in-a-generation talent at quarterback. He was the number one player coming out of high school. Everyone said, well, Fields can be taken over Lawrence. No, it was never a question. When you watch Trevor Lawrence play, you watch Justin Fields. I'm a big Justin Fields fan. There was a gap between them. I view Lawrence as the closest thing that can challenge Pat Mahomes from the number one spot once he develops. Right now, it's Mahomes by a long shot. We can get to the point that Lawrence is there if he's developed properly. The talent around Lawrence is not great, but it's substantially better than last year. The coaching staff around Lawrence is a million times better this year than last year. And if you disagree with that, I'm going to say your Urban Meyer's burner account. It's just, this game just kind of felt like Trevor's coming out party. But there's also another side to it. What does this loss mean to Baltimore?
It it means that they're going to be in a fight. They needed to try to pad up as many wins as they could on Cincinnati before Cincinnati got healthy.
And now they're screwed.
So, but I honestly think that right now the Ravens have more than just a couple of losses to worry about because that meltdown by Lamar, afterwards was, I understand players think that they can, uh, negotiate for themselves and everything else, but
It's stupid.
sometimes you just need a buffer. And you know, if he had a, if he had an agent, that agent could have contacted him and said, "Dude, take that down right away." As it was, he's mad. And let's face it, you've seen a lot of stuff lately where fans say something and then they're just saying it to get a reaction, right?
And
And
there's the other side of this. Fans need to treat athletes with more respect because a lot of the stuff that is direct towards athletes is inappropriate. It is wrong.
it unequivocally. But the thing is they can get away with it and they know it. So,
And athletes are under a microscope because not only do they have to protect themselves, they have to keep sponsors happy, they have to keep their team happy. Like, this is something as minor as it seems. Because it is a tweet at the end of the day. It is not real. It can make sponsors unhappy, and sponsors talk to teams unhappy. Teams care more about money than they do a franchise quarterback, believe it or not. And I want to bring this question up. Is this stretch of the season Lamar's final time Baltimore? And are there any games that he absolutely needs to win if he wants to make the money he desires?
I'm not sure if it's his last stretch in Baltimore. I honestly think that uh, the writing's been on the walls, quite simply because they didn't pay him then when he was banking on himself. So I think he's gone, or he's going to settle for a lot less money than what he wanted. The side caveat to that is that there will be a team that will pay him the money that he wants.
Yeah.
Because they've gotten beat by him so much, or they've seen him, or they're just tired of losing.
Yeah. I think there are two games.
Well, before you go with that,
okay.
You've been saying almost all year long that Lamar is the next quarterback for the Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to that now?
I say I'll get back to you after Tua's run in the playoffs. Because if Tua does well in the playoffs, you keep him. If he struggles, I think we reopen that up, even though I think you may have been right with what you said with Lamar is going to go in the Jets. I think that's a likely destination right now, especially after just getting rid of Zach Wilson. Well, not getting rid of it, benching him, being more accurate. But I just want to say, I think there are two games that decide Lamar Jackson's fate in Baltimore. And that sounds crazy. Do you know how Lamar Jackson's done against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his career?
I know it's not good. Has he won a single game?
He won one game that went to overtime. That was a game that Mason Rudolph got hurt and Duck Hodges came in and played quarterback. They got it to overtime because of phantom roughing the passer call on Bud Dupree that got them in Justin Tucker's field goal range. Outside of that, the Ravens have only beaten the Steelers once since that game. The quarterback for the Ravens was Robert Griffin III. He was the last quarterback in Baltimore to beat the Steelers. That was week 17. Since then, they have been swept by the Steelers. I believe it'd be we're 2 years in a row because those were the last 2 years been played. They're 0-4. These two games decided because you can at least say, hey, they had their franchise quarterback for years. If they get swept this year, he's done. And I know everyone's like, well, it's the Steelers. It's not that big of a deal. If you say that, you don't know the Steelers-Ravens rivalry. They're the closest thing to a college football rivalry in where everyone hates everyone. There is no love between those two teams. They go in there to beat each other. If you saw someone say, oh yeah, that guy in the Steelers I love, Like a Ravens player said that Ray Lewis would be on the phone with him yelling at him. Terrell Suggs would be on the phone yelling at him. It is a hated rivalry, and that goes all the way throughout the organization. It's like Ryan Day. People are questioning Ryan Day because he's lost to Michigan 2 years in a row. People are questioning Billy Napier in Florida because he lost to Florida State. This could be the third year in a row they don't beat Pittsburgh, and they have 2 shots at it. If that happens, Lamar's gone because the ownership cares about it. The GMs know they care about it. And Harbaugh has said the one team he wants to beat the most is the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are all things that matter to the Ravens. It matters to them. So if you're a Ravens fan, you want Lamar to stay, circle that game. If you want Lamar on your team next year and you're not a Ravens fan, cheer for the Steelers. Because Lamar's destiny are in those 2 games. Got anything to add?
Well, I think it's more than just that, but that's okay. So I think that might have a little bit of your Pittsburgh Steeler bias in there as well.
It could. I'm well aware of that. But there's a couple more games we want to talk about. And, man, we got to talk about the train wreck going on in Denver. 10 points against a bad Panthers team? It's not even that.
A bad Panthers team with a good offense. A good defense.
Okay, well, that was going to be where I was going to go next. The Broncos have been very good defensively throughout the year. That's not a stretch. They have been, I believe, the number 1 scoring defense.
I believe so.
They gave up 23 points to the Panthers. This is only the second time the Broncos would have lost if they just scored 18 points in regulation. This offense is defining levels of badness. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I'm releasing a video Sunday about this offense. And I want to ask you, who do you think they need to hire to right the ship in Denver? Who do you think is the guy that you need to fix everything?
It depends on what level of fix you're talking about. Here's the problem, and I think right now that it's a fractured locker room. So maybe Freud could help some, maybe some psychologist, because as much as we can get into Russell Wilson, we can get into this. We don't know wherein lies the problem, right? Because you don't know behind the scenes if it's Russ not wanting to do anything but what Russ wants to do, if Hackett can't hack it, or if a combination of both, okay? Going into the season, I told you flat out that Hackett wasn't going to be able to put the offense in that he wanted to because Russell Wilson can't run some of the stuff that they've been using in Green Bay. That's the same reason why Seattle, wasn't able to use with Shane Waldron a lot of the stuff that the Rams used last year because Russ didn't want to, couldn't, however you want to say it, couldn't do it. So is this the offense that Hackett envisioned? No, it's not, because there is too much over the middle, there's too much motion, and they're not able to do it. So wherein lies the problem? I think it's both of them. I honestly think it's Hackett and I think it's Russ. And you just signed Russ to a huge deal. So the only way you're going to fix it is to bring in somebody that is going to allow Russ to do what Russ wants to do, bring in some other receivers and shore up that offensive line. And then play like what Pete did, whereas he still made him run the ball, even though Russ doesn't want to do it.
So I'm not going to say who I think, because I did a lot of research on this video. It dropped Sunday. The guy I think they are going to hire, not the guy I would hire, is a former NFL head coach that's currently coaching an offense position. Offense coordinator to be exact. Put it together who you think it is, but that's just a little tease. Now, I want to stay on the Panthers, though, and really, what's going on with the NFC South, and is there a real, like, front runner's going to win the division, or is this just whoever gets in is just going to get in at this point?
I think it's going to be the Saints.
You're not giving up on them, are you?
And technically, they're not out of it.
Listen, the Bucks, and I would say the Bucks, Tristan Wirfs' injury terrifies me. Without him, this line gets so much worse. And it's somehow, after they put an air cast on, only 3 to 4 weeks I read, which is preposterous to me. I currently am going to say this, and it feels weird to say, I think the Panthers win this division. And that one guy who bet a stupid amount of money on the Panthers missing the playoffs is got to be sweating right now. And it's not because I think their offense is great. I'm a Sam Darnold homer. I always will be. It's not because of him. I think it's because the coaching's done well. The running attack is very good behind Ike Mekwonu. And their defense is very good still at the end of the day. Now, let's do some picks. Are you ready for some picks?
Let's do it.
Now, Thursday Night Football. Bills Patriots.
Buffalo.
Yeah, that's obvious. Let's start the Sunday games with Steelers at the Falcons.
Sorry, but I think I'm going to take the Falcons.
Give me that black and gold. I'm going to ride with them because their schedule sucks down the stretch. Now, this is a game. We are not reviewing this game. You cannot pay me enough to review a Broncos game. Broncos at the Ravens.
I'm going to go with the Ravens.
I'd agree, and I do not want to watch it. Packers at the Bears, and Rodgers is confirmed to play.
I'm going to go with the Packers.
I'm going to go with the Packers with a caveat. If Justin Fields plays, I'm taking the Bears. Jaguars at the Lions.
I'm going to go with the Lions.
See, so you want to know what happened last week? That was the first Lions game I predicted right this year. That was the very first one. I got every single Lions game wrong. But the Bills helped me. But you know what? I'm a Dan Campbell homer, so I'm going to help him. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is a game I don't really want to spend much time talking about. Browns at the Texans. I'm taking the Browns, and I'm moving on.
Browns.
Now, one of the better games of the week. Jets at the Vikings. And we discussed this already. We don't know who's going to win this.
I'm gonna go with the Jets.
Mike White season, baby. But I am taking the Vikings for the main reason they're playing at home. I'm gonna give the slight nod to the home team. Commanders at the Giants.
I'm sticking with the Commanders.
Taylor Heineke, baby. Give me the Washington Commanders with their god-awful Sean Taylor statue. I mean, I'm using quotation marks when I say statue. That's not a statue. That's not even a mannequin. But give me the Commanders. And sell the team, Snyder. Titans at the Eagles.
I'm going to go with the Eagles.
Same, but Derrick Henry scares me.
Here's the thing. I think that Philly is going to lose 1 to 2 more games this season. I just don't think this is the one that's going to be.
I'd agree with that. Seahawks at the Rams without Aaron Donald and possibly Matthew Stafford, I believe. I saw something earlier, but I didn't really read into it. I don't know if he's playing or not.
Well, I hadn't heard that Aaron Donald's not playing.
He has been ruled out.
I'm taking the Seahawks. I was taking the Seahawks anyway.
I'm taking the Seahawks, and I'm going to bet on them. This is the last show I ever do. Dolphins at the 49ers.
This one I've been thinking about the entire time.
So I'm taking the 49ers because Teron Armstead is going to be out. And that 49ers defense is going to tee off on them.
I think I'll take the Niners then as well.
Now, this is the game we're going to be reviewing. It's the game of the week. It's a rematch, the AFC Conference Championship game. Chiefs at the Bengals.
I'm taking the Chiefs.
I'm going to be crazy here. Give me smoking Joe Burrow. Now, Chargers at the Raiders, a game I'm not looking forward to watching, but give me the Chargers.
And I'll take the Chargers as well.
Sunday Night Football. Oh boy, what a game. Colts at the Cowboys.
It's a toss-up game, but I think I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Now listen. This is the most Cowboys game to lose. They should blow out the Colts. The Colts offense is horrible. Their defense plays a bend but don't break style. This feels like the Cowboys should win. It feels like it. That's why my stupid brain's gonna go, logic be damned, give me the Colts, let chaos reign. Saints at the Bucks for Monday Night Football.
I'm going to go with the Saints.
I'm gonna go with whiskey. Can I choose that? Oh, no. I'll go with the Bucks and I'll take rum. How many points do you think are going to be scored, and why is it only 25 points?
I'm going to go with 30.
I kind of just gave away mine, 25. It's going to be a miserable Monday Night Football. But that's going to wrap us up. Like I said, next week we're reviewing Bengals-Titans. Overall, I thought we had a lot of interesting discussion points, and more are going to be coming because now we're entering down the stretch, and our disagreements are going to ramp up. But
Bengals, Titans. I thought the Titans were playing the Eagles, and I thought KC was playing the Bengals.
KC's playing the Bengals, and Titans are playing the Eagles. Titans and Bengals played last weekend.
Yes, well, you just said that.
Did I just?
Yes.
Listen,
did you take any shots?
No. Ironically, no. I did just rewatch that game this morning, though, so that could be it. But that's going to do us. Be safe, everyone, and have a happy holidays.